Okay, check this out. This is, you've seen this picture before. K-Bug. I love you, K-Bug. I love you, J-Bug. Love you guys. Okay, let me tell you. Let me tell you about this. I'll start right here. Yesterday, in fact, let me just kind of, how do I riff in 10 minutes on Fibonojji, cover all the ground, La Jolla, Kellogg Beach, PCH, Holla, UCLA, Rebecca, Lynn, Ben, Heidi, Shanna, Jack Beans, Chocolate Chip. Like, how do I do that in 10 minutes? PCH and 2503 and who the fuck is Fibonojji? And you're like, okay, I think he's this guy. And I think he's, what? Is he giving us movie reviews and like, what the fuck? 61.8? Is he like Fibonacci retracement? I see some like, and then there's this and then there's just some good books. And then hashtag MRA, and then how do we, everybody looks at things from their own perspective. So no matter what I told you, or look at that, you're going to see things from your own perspective. Or I could have just started right here. You're like, what? In perspective. And Heidi, I could say, I so want to pay you back. Heidi's my friend. I want to say, Heidi, I so want to pay you back. Allison, I so want to pay you back. So Heidi, go take this link and go tell Fred. Go to Muleshoe, Texas, email him, text him, tell Fred, say, here's a video. It's from Fibonojji. You know the PCH, holla nigga. And he'll just say, oh, I think he has mental illness. And then I'll say, well, that's a federally protected status. And then he won't even, and then say, and then simply tell Fred, Heidi, your story, your perspective. Say, well, how do you know me, and what have you been, and am I, and what, and tell me this story, and he really is homeless, and no, really, like his family won't, and then Shanna will, who looks at things from her perspective, will say, no, he literally had to come live with us for 3 weeks because he was catching pneumonia, and his family paid for a motel, then they just stopped, and then how do we tell that story? Yesterday, my dad, he hit me $50. And it was such a wonderful day because my dad hit me $50, and my dad has not given me a dollar bill, has not given me a dime, literally not given me my earthly father has not given me a dollar, a single $5 or since I was 12 years old, maybe 13, maybe 14. And I could tell my dad a story about the Dr. Pepper story, and of course he would call me crazy. But no, there was a time that my dad moved on when he divorced my mom, moved on and started a new family, and that woman came with a child. And my dad, I went to live with him, and my stepbrother Jake had a refrigerator that my dad bought him that was filled with Dr. Pepper, not just on the inside, but my dad was stacks and stacks of Dr. Pepper. And I remember going to live with my dad and seeing that my dad was paying for beverages for another kid that he wouldn't give me money for shoes. And that was my earthly dad. And I remember seeing that, like, wow. Of course, my dad has his perspective, and my brother Russell has his perspective, and My mom has her perspectives on homelessness. Recently, she texted me to just reduce my living expenses. I thought, what living expenses do I have? The very truck that I used to live in has been repossessed, and that's why it was because I didn't have. And then I start to, and then my mom has her perspective, and so we just lean on quotes here. It says, "Men are what their mothers made them." That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. Somebody once said that all you need is Emerson, and I would add to the Bible. You just need Emerson in the Bible. You ever notice that whenever these quotes happen, or you see these quotes, they always have these really, really wonderful moms that are caring and nurturing and loving and making sure that they're getting their children out in beautiful nature. Well, that wasn't my mom, but that quote is true. My mom has her perspective, and maybe someday I'll become a world-famous filmmaker, and I'll make documentaries about the story of homelessness, the real story, and use my story and tell other people's story. Maybe I'll talk about Texas 2503. Maybe I can ring that bell a little bit, Texas 2503, and talk about how Texas 2503 is the epicenter of homelessness in America. And it's literally a Holocaust. But nobody cares about that. I mean, it's just a civil matter, right? Well, that's like saying the Civil War. Everybody has their perspective. And ultimately, people just want to be remembered, and they want their stories to be told. And they want the people to know that they love them, and tell people that I love them. And that's what I've been doing on this journey, is telling my mom that I love her and then goodbye, telling my brother I love him and goodbye. When I was homeless in LA, I had a brother who lived in LA, and he gave me $400, and he said the most LA phrase I've ever heard. He goes, "You look so good to be homeless." See, the story here, Victorian photo tricks, there's this thing called, and by the way, it all hasn't been all bad. There's been a lot of amazing things I've learned. Like, I've learned what I really love, and I love film, and I love basketball, and I mean, these are, when you go homeless, it's not all bad, because you lose things, but like Emerson says, you gain something else. And I mean, my love of photography, I never understood that I loved photography. I never understood that really, if I could go back to my 12, 14-year-old self, I would want to have been a filmmaker. I would want to have been maybe a cinematographer, maybe a director. Some people want to be baseball players. I wanted to be a cinematographer, a filmmaker, a documentarian. But that wasn't my story. But I will say, if I ever do this video or do this real Fibonojji style, if I ever have that, I know that when your truck is getting repossessed in Colorado and the repo guy comes, the first thing I did is grab for my camera. And I know that the first thing you grab from your soon-to-be repossessed truck is you grab your ski boots, dude. You grab your ski boots. And only people from Colorado understand that. Again, it's a Colorado perspective. And then, you see people like this, Marcie, who's just, and I'm using air quotes, just a regular person taking care of the motel that I'm staying at, and how, look, I mean, she shows up with coffee. I don't know how much money she makes, but she's an angel to me. Brings me coffee. You have towels? And those are the people that are least celebrated. And today she brought me towels for some reason were pink and blue. My son and my daughter, and how heartbreak is the real issue. And how I could talk about Texas 2503, but it's really an issue of heartbreak and losing children in civil cases, and also a broader conversation, a broader narrative on the masculine life. And the masculine life and the War of the Roses and how women can fight through custody battles and destroy ex-husbands. I mean, think of that. Women are so wonderful and so evil that they have literally created a legal system where they can punish their ex-husband for 20 years and call it the civil system and get by with it. Anyway, these are things I think about. These are the perspectives of Fibonojji. So you tell me, why did Victorians take pictures of dead people?